major bell rings in the polity. It's Nigeria's general election come 2023. Nigerians are looking forward to throw their support to a one through candidate. And this is one of such programs that reminds you of the importance of your vote. Welcome to the Think Osinbajo Show, to you by the Osinbajo Think Tank. My name is Lilian Chidi. And today joining me on the program is Mr. Olugbenga Olaoye. He's a co-convener of the Osinbajo Think Tank Show. And just before Mr. Olugbenga Olaoye comes on, we're going to take a very quick break. And after that, Mr. Benga will be reacting to that video. Please stay with us.
The truth of the matter is that I think we're at a stage where, with a little more push, a little more innovation, a little more opening up and allowing everybody to come into governance, a cooperation from the House, from the House, from the Senate, we will put this country where it ought to be. I have no doubt in my mind about that. And we're at a point where we can do so. And I think we're at a point where we can do so. We're at a point where we can just make that difference. Everybody, as I said, everybody can aspire and should aspire. That is fair. There's no question at all. But my own aspiration, and I want to say so again with utmost humility, is to be able to serve.
Welcome back. If you just joined us, this is the Think Osinbajo Show brought to you by the Osinbajo Think Tank. Mr. Olugbenga Olaoye, thank you for joining us on the show.
Thanks, Lilian, for having me. Good evening, viewers on the various platforms. Thank you.
Okay, just before we went on that break, we did show a video. And the Vice President did say that he would want a collaboration in governance. What's your take on that?
Thank you for that question. It just goes to showcase the personality of Professor Yemi Osinbajo. And there's a saying that goes by, a tree does not make a forest. And when you're in leadership, you are just as good as the quality of your team. So in saying that, trying to bring everybody on board is to tell us that no single individual has the solution to the problems that we face in Nigeria today. It takes a collective effort of everyone. And if you look at the democracy we practice, you have the executive, you have the legislature, you have the judiciary, you have the civil service also. And it takes all these sets of people to come together, and churn out policies, laws to ensure that the nation gets to the desired height that it intends to attain. So we need a leader in the mold of Professor Yemi Osinbajo, who understands the rule of law, who understands governance, who has been in the corridors of power over the last 7 years, and is such an individual that will hit the ground running. So him reaching out, trying to garner support from the people he's going to be working with, the people he's going to be leading, is a step in the right direction. And I think with him, Nigeria will be great again. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Just before we continue, some Nigerians would like to know what the Osinbajo think tank is all about, who and what it's all about. So please throw light on the Osinbajo think tank.
Okay, thank you very much. The Osinbajo think tank is a group of young Nigerians from diverse interests and backgrounds who have come together, to having looked at the political landscape of Nigeria, where we are and where we want to get to. We've been able to identify Professor Yemi Osinbajo amongst the lots of those that have shown interest in running for the top job in Nigeria as the candidate that can take us to the promised land. And we've come together to lend our voice, to lend our support in areas of voter education, in terms of media campaign and awareness, trying to galvanize support from the non-traditional voters in Nigeria. If you look at most of the elections that have taken place since 1999, you realize that there's a lot of voter apathy. So the Osinbajo think tank is one of such groups, over 500 support groups rooting for the vice president. But we are also in the vanguard of ensuring that we put the right news across to the people. We are following all his campaigns and consultations. And then we are also trying to ensure that we educate the voters. First and foremost, your major weapon as a citizen of Nigeria above the age of 18 years is to have your PVC. When you have your PVC, that's not enough. You also need to go a step further by ensuring that you cast your vote, for the right candidate on the election day. So we are doing this, and we are not leaving any stone unturned to ensure that Professor Yemi Osinbajo emerges as the president of Nigeria come 2023. Thank you.
Can you hear me? I'm trying to adjust my...
Yes, I can hear you. Yes, I have answered your question.
So, Olaoye, can you hear me?
Yes, I can. I can hear you.
All right, please. So I'm going to ask you, let's take a look at, in the last few weeks, you had a video that had earlier gone viral, and it was pretty controversial. What would you say concerning that video? Because Nigerians actually think that you meant it in a different way from what you meant. So I'd like you to take a retrospect to that video and throw some light about that video.
Okay, so basically, what went viral was not the interview itself, but it was a quote that somebody made out of it, which was not captured in anything I said. And it was that quote that actually went viral, and people took it as if that was exactly what I said, and that's one of the things with the press, especially when we're in a competitive space like this. People want to latch on to a kind of narrative that will suit their intentions and purposes. But lessons have been learned, and we've moved ahead, and there's no love lost between us and the vice president's camp. So it's just one of those things that happen in the media. And I mean, you can agree with me also that so many other things have come up in the media after that. So that case has been rested, and we move, like the Nigerians will say.
Thank you very much. So let's take a
All
look
right.
at the candidacy of the vice president. What do you think of the vice president, having served in that capacity and now transiting to becoming, if voted in as the number one in Nigeria? What do you think of his candidacy?
If you look at the array of those who are jostling for the number one position in Nigeria, you would agree with me that no one has the pedigree and the capacity of the vice president. And, with his humility, he's not even taking anything for granted that being the number 2 man who his boss has shown tremendous support for. He's not taking things for granted. He's still reaching out to everybody. He's still moving from geopolitical zone to geopolitical zone, selling his plan, selling his agenda, and you can see the response that he's getting. So we stand a chance, of electing the best
Thank you.
president in the
So
history of
you
this
talked so
nation.
much about the vice president and the
Yeah.
ambition. Let's take a look at the role that the Osinbajo think tank is playing towards this cause. Because having said this mind-blowing things about one man, how is it? What is the role of the Osinbajo think tank towards making this, ambition a reality?
Okay, so the Osinbajo think tank, like I said, we are one of the many uh, support groups of the vice president under the umbrella of the Progressive Project, which is currently being chaired by Senator Kabiru Gaya from Kano State. In our own case, like I said earlier, we do a lot of voter sensitization and education, and then we are also we're also very vocal in the media space, disseminating the right information, to the voters and to the delegates, because everything rests on information. You need to educate the people. You need to make them see the need and the reason why Professor Yemi Osinbajo stands out amongst all the contestants. And if you are following the news and the media, you will see that the Osinbajo think tank, we've been coming out with releases, in the mainstream media, in the online media, even long before the vice president's declaration. And we are not going to stop. Even this program, Think Osinbajo, is going to be a continuous exercise, So we are very well positioned in ensuring that the
Thank
vice
you.
president gets more votes than expected in the history of elections in this country.
Thank you very much. We have been speaking with Mr. Olugbenga Olaoye, who is a co-convener of the Osinbajo think tank. We're going to take a break, and when we come back, the show, the Think Osinbajo show, will continue. Please stay with us. And please do not forget to join the conversation on our different platforms on Twitter and, of course, on YouTube right here. We'll take a break, and we'll come back. That's for sure.
The truth of the matter is that I think we're at a stage where, with a little more push, a little more innovation, a little more opening up and allowing everybody to come into governance, a cooperation from the House, like from the House, from the Senate, we will put this country where it ought to be. I have no doubt in my mind about that. And we're at a point where we can do so. And I think we're at a point where we can do so. We're at a point where we can just make that difference. Everybody, as I said, everybody can aspire and should aspire. That is fair. There's no question at all. But my own aspiration, and I want to say so again with utmost humility, is to be able to serve.
Welcome back. Sorry, I've been having issues with my audio. So things like this happen. Welcome back. This is still the Think Osinbajo show, brought to you by the Osinbajo Bank. And we have been talking with Mr. Olugbenga Olaoye, who is a co-convener of the Osinbajo Bank. So we're going to that.
Thank you.
Okay, let's take it further. Let's take a look at the huddle. And the big huddle is the panels. going to happen in a few weeks. And do you think that the vice president is ready for this hurdle? Even with the numbers, it's a game of numbers. So how do you see the vice president jump the hurdle?
Well, without sounding too optimistic, because when you are supporting a candidate, you tend to be highly optimistic. But if you look at the political space in Nigeria today, the only person that has been consulting, that has been reaching out, even though he doesn't really need it, being a number two man, he could just assume that it's going to be a walkover. He could sit in the comfort of his palatial office and make calls, But he's going all around. And everywhere he has gone, you can see the acceptance, even in the north, in the south, northeast, north central, northwest. Between the day he declared and now, he has virtually toured more than half of the country. So I can assure you that between now and the period of the primary, he would have covered the entire state. And let's not forget also that in the last 7 years, this is what he has been doing. This is a man who stopped his convoy to attend to, protesters. This is a man who went deep into the creek to attend to militants. So this is a servant leader. And I can assure you that on the day of the primaries, if there is going to be primaries, the vice president will amass more than 70%
Thank you very
of
much.
the votes. Thank you.
So, first of all, your introduction, you talked about the Osinbajo think tank as a group of professionals. And let's take a look at Nigeria's political landscape. Professionals. We find professionals in boardrooms, in AC fitted areas. And you know that the grassroots is where real politics happen. Don't you see this as a limitation? Given that. I don't know. Do you see this as a limitation, or are we going to see a paradigm shift with what the think tank organization stand for, the Osinbajo think tank?
So the paradigm shift is already happening because apart from Osinbajo think tank, there are also other groups that are professionals. And that's to tell you that the enlightened ones are now getting more and more interested in who governs them. Before now, the political class has held down the bottom of the pyramid. These are the people that you call the grassroots. And by the time we go in for elections, you will realize that if there are 100 million eligible voters, for example, the total vote cast is usually below 40 million. So where are the 60 million? So the Osinbajo think tank and so many other groups are part of this 60 million. And we are going to recruit as many as possible amongst these 60 million, the hypothetical 60 million that are going to throw their weight behind Professor Yemi Osinbajo. That's what we stand for. And then for the delegates, I think I've answered that. The vice president is going to amass more than 80% of delegate votes come May 30.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm now being told that you can join the conversation on Think Osinbajo on our online platforms, on Twitter. Of course, that's it right now on display. Join the conversation. Hashtag Think Osinbajo on Twitter, on YouTube. Be part of this political discourse. We're talking about the candidacy of the vice president, Professor Yemi Osinbajo. So you can be part of this, send your questions, and we'll be happy to take them from our different platforms on Facebook, Twitter, and of course on YouTube. So let me ask you, Mr. Olugbenga, how ready do you think the group is to push this? In a scale of 1 to 100, how ready do you think the Osinbajo think tank is ready to move this glorious ambition over the line? Scale of 1 to 100.
So the Osinbajo think tank, we are not alone. Like I said, we work with a larger body. and there is a blueprint that we follow. So we are not operating outside
Watching
of
the
the
Think
bigger picture.
Oshibajo show. It's brought to you by the Oshibajo Big Bang. Right here, Mr. Gwengo now joins me from Lagos. Of course, Thank you so much for being
Thank you.
part. So I'm going to ask you this question now. Let's take a look at every day we see an increasing number of Nigerians, actually pledging their allegiance to become president, as candidates, flag bearers to their party. Don't you see this? Don't you see it as a source of concern for you? Shouldn't this be a source of concern about Nigeria's democracy and politics? Rather, shouldn't
Well,
it be a case where people should, come as brothers or sort of like a consensus and say, okay, this is want to support this person, but we see everybody. It's sort of like Nigerians think it's a case of selfish interest and also. Is this not a concern as regards to the vice president's move to become president in 2023?
okay. Well, for us, we are not distracted. The more the merrier. Every Nigerian who meets the criteria to run for any political office can so run, right? But the question is, how many of the people that have obtained form have filled the form or have returned the form? And aside from that, how many of them are going around like the vice president to woo delegates to sell their agenda to Nigerians? It's only the vice president. So in this
Okay,
case,
very well.
we have pretenders and we
Recently
have
there's been
contenders.
clamors from different. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Cool. So recently there's been clamors from different geopolitical zones calling for presidency. It seems like we can't get enough of the national cake when it has to do with the presidency. Don't you think this would also sort of affect the vice president's ambition to um, become president? Okay, I've been signaled that we have questions. Please, let's take a listen. Let's take a look
Okay.
at the
Can we
questions
can we
from
take
the audience.
okay. Okay, yes, please go ahead. Okay. Oluwatimileyin Akogun is asking if the president is supporting him. Um, okay. Now you want to put me on the spot. Well, it's not possible for a number two man to want to succeed his boss, right? And the boss has not given his blessings. And then the number two man will be going around canvassing for votes. The president is a father of all, and he has not discouraged anyone from seeking the number one office. And that's including the number two man, the vice president. And that's why we believe that amongst all those that are jostling for that position, he is the most qualified.
Thank you. I'm
I
back
hope I've
here.
answered your question.
Of course, you did justice. The questions from the public. Try to take a look at the questions. We have okay, one
Do we
still
have more questions?
trying to juggle the questions.
Can we just focus on the questions from the audience now? Oh, okay. So I think we have just only one question. Hello, Lilian. So I think the question has been answered.
Oh, the question has been answered. Okay, amazing. Okay, finally, what's your word for delegates? I would like to know what your word for the delegates ahead of the primaries, given that you know the situation.
Okay, so my word to the delegates is that they should put Nigeria first. And if we are indeed sincere with ourselves, we need a leader who will hit the ground running from day one. And there's no other person. If you had the montage that displayed earlier in the video, the VP was saying we're at a stage where we just need a little more push, a little more sacrifice, a little more, drive to get us to where we want to be. And no other person can do that other than the VP. If any other person gets into Aso Rock in 2023, apart from the VP, we're gonna have a kind of lull, because trying to study, the terrain, trying to understand what is happening, and time is not waiting. So let's just give the best man the opportunity to represent APC in the general elections, and that's no other than Professor Yemi Osinbajo. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Olugbenga Olaoye. He believes that Nigerians and delegates should give the best man the opportunity to become president come 2023. Don't forget that you can join this conversation on our various platforms, and this program comes to you on Tuesday by 8:30 p.m. and of course also on Friday by 8:30 p.m. Thank you so much for being part of the show. You have been watching the Think Osinbajo show. I'm Lilian Chidi saying have a beautiful day and make sure you vote with your conscience. Thank you. Have a good evening.
Fellow Nigerians, the need to come together to chart the course of our great nation has never been more needed than now. That's why we have created a group to do all that we can to support the candidacy and emergence of Professor Yemi Osinbajo as President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria come 2023.
Ours is not just another support group, but one that strongly vouches for the personage intellectual capacity and prospect embedded in Nigeria's most celebrated vice president in history. And as intellectuals from different industries, we are solidly putting our resources to help achieve this vision.
Now that you know about us, do you share in our ideology and our ambition? Do you want to share strategic thoughts on how to move our nation forward? Start by joining us. It is free. Click the sign up button below. This is a call to serve.
We are the Osinbajo Think Tank.